Good evening and a warm welcome to each and everyone watching today. Welcome to today's episode of Wednesdays with Pastor K. I'm so excited to be your host today, and I believe that you and I are going to have an awesome time. And I just want to welcome you, and also I'm so excited to spend the next few moments of my time with you. And I want you to please like, share, comment, and let's get people into this room. Now, if you've got people that follow you, it would be very nice of you to please share this feed so that people can also tune in and feed from what we'll be discussing today. And if you can hear me, I want you to please indicate that you can hear me. If you can see me, indicate that you can see me. And if you can't hear me, please let me know. I'm just going to quickly welcome a few people that have tuned in now. I see we've got Mohadi Ayanda watching on Facebook. Welcome. Good to see you, my daughter. And we have Khomotso KG watching on Facebook. Welcome, Khomotso. Good to see you, my daughter. And we have Pumzile Petla watching from Facebook. Welcome, Pumzile. Good to see you. And Tabo My Money watching also on Facebook. Good to see you, son and daughter. And we have also Balungile Mashazi watching on Facebook. Good to see you, daughter. And we have Bafana Ngosi watching on YouTube. Welcome, son. Good to see you. And who else do we have? Let's see who I'm missing here. Oh, it looks like I have everybody. But welcome. Good to have you on today's episode. And I believe we're going to have an awesome time. Please, may I ask you to please share the feed, and also let's get people that follow you into this room. Welcome, Sizo. Good to see you, Zolega. So excited to have you once again. And we are continuing from where we left off last week, excuse me. And I believe that you were impacted by last week's episode. We've been discussing signs that you have to let go of a relationship. Signs that you have to let go of a relationship. And we dealt with part one last week. And I'm just going to quickly recap before we go to proceed from where we left off yesterday. I just want us to recap quickly on the things that we discussed last week, because I believe that many were impacted by this topic, and it is a necessity for people to partake and to also engage in this kind of topics as well. And I see my dear friend and Dogozo Mlambo is watching. Good to see you, Matsala. Welcome to today's episode. And we have Stembi Nsele watching. Good to see you, Stembile. It's nice to have you on today's episode. So yeah, let's shoot God's people. Let's shoot, and let's quickly recap on last week's teaching. We discussed the facts about relationships, and we said that relationships are generally challenging. They are generally challenging. Any kind of relationship. It can be a romantic relationship, it can be a friendship relationship, it can be a work relationship, but all the relationships are challenging. We've got what we call destiny relationships as well. All relationships can be challenging at times, but the problem is that some people may hold on to the hope that a tough season in a relationship will come to pass, not knowing that that tough season will never pass. There are relationships that are irreparable, and there are relationships that, you know what, they will take up most of your energy, and for you to remain there, it will drain you. And the best thing for you to do will be just to, let go of the relationship. There are those relationships that are not meant to last forever. I'll repeat that again. There are those kinds of relationships that are not meant to last forever. And I guess we just have to make peace with that, and welcome, excuse me, welcome Rato Mashazi. She's watching on YouTube. And we have Tabisen Labasa watching on Facebook. Welcome, daughter. Good to see you. Good to see you. Oh, you're watching on YouTube. Awesome. Greetings to your family, my daughter. I'm so blessed to have you as a daughter. We love you very much. So yes, understand this, that at times fear holds us back from making that final decision to let go. sometimes we hang on to something that is not working in our lives simply because we are fearful of letting go. And that's why many people sometimes they end up killing one another. They end up, losing who they really are because they are holding on to a relationship that never seems to make that turn, that necessary turn it needs to make. So people will tend to hold on to a relationship that tomorrow will destroy them, will destroy their character. So at times it is necessary for us to let go and to move on. Staying in a relationship you don't want to be in anymore has lasting consequences. I'll say that again. Staying in a relationship you don't want to be in anymore has lasting consequences. It may affect your health, it may affect your reputation, it may affect your peace. It is very important that when it's time to move on, it's time to move on. And it may impact our mental and emotional well being. Staying in a relationship we no longer want to be in may impact our mental and emotional well being. Staying stuck in a bad relationship for too long can be damaging for both parties. For both parties, staying stuck in a bad relationship for too long can be damaging for both parties. Now, it is very important that you don't get to a stage where you feel stuck in a relationship and you know very well that you want out of the relationship, but there's something that is keeping you there because you are afraid what people will say, you are afraid of your reputation, you are afraid of what your family members will say. But honestly speaking, you know very well that that relationship never or does no longer serve the purpose, it does not longer even serve you as a person who plays a part in that particular relationship. So at times we just have to let go and let God be, right? And some people are afraid to end certain relationships because they are afraid to face life without that particular person or people. That's another reason. Certain people are afraid to end relationships because they are afraid to face life without that particular person. But you know very well, you're no longer happy. You know very well that this relationship has taken all your peace. You no longer have peace in that relationship. It is an abusive relationship. This person beats you up all the time. This person criticizes you all the time. And this person always attacks you, whether verbally, physically. They attack you emotionally. They attack you mentally. You must know that it's time to move on. There are certain relationships that are not worth you staying in. There are certain relationships that are not worth you, giving it more of your time. So we've got to let go at times, right? And also, the fear of being alone. That's what affects other people. The fear of being alone. There are many people who are afraid of being alone, and as a result, they've settled, to stay with somebody they are no longer happy with because they are afraid and they have the fear of being alone. And I'm telling you, that's not the right way of staying in a relationship, and that's not the right reason to remain in a relationship. So it is very important that when it's time to move on, you move on. And also, um, the fear of being alone on our own and starting all over again may be crippling certain people. And in that process, you will waste valuable time and you will perpetuate unhappiness. You will perpetuate unhappiness and you will waste valuable time. You will waste valuable time. Your time is very important. And wasting your time in a relationship might be wasting your life or your years in a relationship that no longer serves you and no longer serves its purpose. And I said this last week. I said you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot continue to pour from an empty cup. You realize that you do still want to be in that relationship, but honestly speaking, you've got nothing more in you or nothing left in you to pour into that cup. Take care of yourself first. You come first. In every relationship, just know that you come first. In every relationship, there must be rewards on your investment. In every relationship. So if you and I are in a relationship, it can be a friendship relationship or um, a romantic relationship or let's say a work relationship, whatever kind of relationship, if we are in that relationship together, you must know both of us must invest in that relationship. If you don't get a mutual investment in a relationship, then that relationship is not worth remaining in it. There are many people who are stuck in one-sided relationships, and it's not good. It's not good for them. Deciding to let go doesn't make you a failure. I'll say that again. Deciding to let go does not make you a failure. Failure is an event, not a person. Failure is an event, not a person. Never, never in your life think that letting somebody go will mean that you are a failure. No. Failure is not a person, failure is an event. Sometimes ending a relationship is not necessarily a bad thing. That's what you need to take from today's teaching. Sometimes ending a relationship is not necessarily a bad thing. Understand that not every relationship is meant to be. You must make peace with that. Not every relationship is meant to be. Not every relationship is meant to be. There are relationships that we are in because we want to be in. But it does not necessarily mean that that relationship is meant to be. There are relationships that are heavenly ordained. There are relationships that are orchestrated by God Himself. There are relationships that we ourselves, with our selfish motives, we've put ourselves into. And I'm telling you, they will drain you. Those relationships will get the best out of you and will leave you for the dead tomorrow if you don't smell this thing and move on. If someone is not good for you, that doesn't mean that they are not a good person. You have to understand that. If someone is not good for you, it does not mean that they are not a good person. You need to understand that you need to be with someone you're compatible with. You need to connect with somebody that you are compatible with. Staying with somebody you're not compatible with, you will not be able to get benefits out of that relationship or the desired benefits out of that relationship because you are trying to get what you want to get from somebody who's not compatible with you. They don't have what it takes to give you what you desire in a relationship because you are not compatible. And that is why I say certain relationships, it's not God that put us in those relationships, but we went in ourselves because of our selfish motives. Selfish motives, right? So we have to really be discerning when we enter into relationships. It is very important that we are discerning when we enter into relationships. Very important, very important. I'm just gonna also have the put the charts on the screen so that I may see some of the comments. Yeah. So we've got to understand that. So today, oh, I think last week, we are still on last week. Sorry about that. We are still on last week. And we said signs that you need to let go. Signs that you need to let go of a relationship. These signs are not always obvious. They may linger in the background. They may linger in the background. I don't know why I'm not getting these comments yet. I'll just move it for now. But I'm going to give you the signs that we shared last week on the reason why you should let go. Number one, if your partner is abusive and disrespectful, both physically and emotionally, many stay in abusive relationships because they are financially dependent on that partner. Never stay in a relationship because you want to benefit from somebody's finances, but you no longer want to be with that person. That thing may even take you to your death bed, or it can take you to the grave. Never remain in a relationship for anything other than love. Don't do that. When it comes to abuse of any kind, it is crucial. It is crucial to safely find a way out. It's difficult to get out of those relationships. You have to really love yourself. I've realized that many people who are in abusive relationships, those are people who are not even intending to leave. That's how addictive the abusive relationships can be. You find that people that are in those relationships, they are remaining in those relationships. They have no plans of moving out of that relationship. They have no plans of working out of that person. They just enjoy being there and being ill-treated by that particular person. And that's a challenge. That's a challenge. Number two, if your partner refuses to see the good in you, and they always criticize you. They always criticize you, and they criticize you in public and in private. Then you must know that relationship is no longer worthy for you. It's no longer what's the word I'm looking for? It's no longer healthy for you. So it's time to move on. Number three, if there's more violence in that relationship than happiness, then you must know it's time to move on. If you fight more than you being happy, then it's time to let go of that relationship. If you feel negatively when you are around that person, if you're feeling negative or negatively when you're around that person, it's time to call it quits. It's time to let go. You no longer look forward to seeing that person. You no longer look forward to seeing that person. Even when you're at work, you don't even feel like going back. You don't feel like going back home. Going back home is like it's a mission for you. It's a mission. You can't stand seeing that particular person. And not that you are fighting physically, or not that the relationship is at that aggressive level of fights and all that. No, but you find that you've gotten to a point where you just tolerate one another. And the last thing you need is to be at home and face this person. You must know, you must let go of that relationship. It's time to cut ties. Number four, you feel fearful around them. That's not good. If you're feeling fearful around that particular person, then you must know God is no longer in that relationship. It's time to let go of that relationship, because now that particular person has become sort of like a monster in your life. And when you're around them, you feel fearful, and you must always think before you speak. When you're around that person all the time, you must count your words before you say anything, because you know that soon you'll be in trouble with that particular person, and you are always worried you'll say something that upsets or irritates them. So this person, has grown this short temper, that everything that you say makes them angry. Then you must know it's time to move on. Number five, if you're the only one putting an effort into that relationship to work, and your partner is not showing any interest, then you must know your time with that person is over. Number six, if for the longest time going home for you has been the hardest thing to do, going home for you has been the hardest thing to do. You don't enjoy spending time with your partner anymore. Being around them can be draining. Being around them can be draining. Then you must know it's time to move on. Number seven, we said you no longer want to be with them, but you feel obligated to stay with them. That's a big one. I think that stood out last week. You no longer want to be with them, but you feel obligated to stay with them. Why? Because you don't want to disappoint your parents. You don't want to disappoint your friends. You don't want to disappoint everyone close to you, because the moment you leave that person, everybody's going to come now screaming at you and asking you, how could you do this and all that? So you no longer want to be there, but you feel obligated to be there. Or you feel that this person, maybe at the time when you met them, they were employed, and now that your relationship has turned sour, this person is even unemployed now. Then you feel obligated to stay with them because you must fend for them and you must support them. You know what? As good as it may sound that you might be doing the right thing to stay, but the reason is not good enough. It's not good enough. You come first. Prolonging the relationship only allows time for more drama. Prolonging the relationship only allows time for more drama. Now let's continue on today. Today I want us to focus on a relationship with a friend. A relationship with a friend. We are still on signs that you have to let go of a relationship, but today we are proceeding with part 2. And item number 2, or point number 2, would be a relationship with a friend. A relationship with a friend. This is what they say about friends. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Good friends can add richness to your life and shape you into a better version of yourself. Now, great friendships or good friends, they make deposits into your life. And likewise, you make deposits in their lives if you guys are good friends and if you guys are great friends. So, good friends can add richness to your life and shape you into a better version of yourself. Now, great friends will lead you into the right direction of your life, and they will always reprimand you when you are losing the way. They will always call you to order if you lose the way. Those are great friendships. But bad friends can bring significant emotional pain and can bring out the very worst in us. Some of us are in those kinds of relationships and they are not good for us. And as a result, those relationships are bringing out the worst in us. They are bringing out the worst in us. And that is why we have to be very intentional when it comes to relationships. We have to be intentional when it comes to relationships, because you don't want to find yourself in a relationship that is leading you away from your destiny and from your godly assignment or your God-given assignment. Wisdom is ending relationships that stand in the way between your growth and your well-being. I'm sure some of you watching now, you can attest to that. There are relationships that are getting in between you and your growth and your well-being, and those relationships are not healthy. You know, there are those kinds of relationships that are very toxic, and the Bible says, "He who walks with the wise will grow wise, but the counsel of fools will suffer harm." It matters who you connect with. It matters who you call friend. It matters who you hang around with. This can be hard to do, ending certain relationships. It can be hard to do, but you must be wise enough to discern a positive or a negative friendship. You must be wise to discern a positive friendship or a negative friendship. You must be intentional when it comes to the area of relationships. You must be intentional and you must be wise enough to discern positive friendships or negative friendships. You must get to that stage where you're able to discern that this thing is not going to take me anywhere in life. I must just move on and leave this friendship and continue with my life. But now, today, I want us to discuss the signs that you should end your friendship with that friend. Signs. Number one of the signs would be serious betrayal. A serious betrayal. Now, you need to understand this, that the backbone of every powerful relationship is trust. The backbone of every powerful relationship is trust. When trust is broken, then the relationship is in a mess. When trust is broken, the relationship is in a mess. It can be hard to rebuild trust back. It can be very hard. It can be very hard. So every solid relationship and every life-changing relationship, it sits or it stands on the backbone of what we call Trust. Trust. If there is no trust in a relationship, that relationship has no staying power. That relationship would lose its staying power. You've got to trust that friend if that friendship is going to last very long, or that relationship will last very long. The following can amount to a gross betrayal of trust. I'm going to mention a few things that will qualify you to walk out of that relationship. And those things will breach your trust. They will breach your trust. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes. Tabam Langeni says, if they don't see any good from you, then you must know it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Patricezo says it's a lot to build trust, but it takes few minutes to break that trust. Absolutely. I fully agree with you, Patricezo. Now, the following can amount to a gross betrayal of trust. If a friend steals money from you, that thing will breach your trust. If a friend steals money from you, that act will betray your trust. It will breach the trust. Secondly, if a friend cheats with your partner, that's a big one. That's a big one. That's a slap in the face. If a friend cheats with your partner, then you must know you cannot repair that relationship. You can forgive that person for what they've done to you, but you must move on. You must move on. You must move on. If you don't, and you forgive this person and you keep them in your life again, I'm telling you, they're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. So you must be very careful when it comes to relationships. If one of these things that I've mentioned do happen, you must know that person is not worthy of being called your friend. That person is not worthy of remaining in your list of friends. It is time to let go of that particular person. It is time to move on because that particular person does not value you. Remember to interact with me and comment in the comment section. You can also ask me any question if you have questions relating to what we are discussing today, and I will gladly respond to you. But if a friend cheats with your partner, then it's time to let them go. It's time to cut ties with a friend. Excuse me. You've got to cut ties with that friend. They are not good for you, and they can only do more harm than good in your life. Number three of the things I said, these can amount to what we call a gross betrayal of trust. Number three is if that friend divulges very personal or sensitive information about you to others. If that person does that, then you must know it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Let's say, for instance, you confided in them as a friend. Let's say you've got a terminal disease, a sexually transmitted disease, hypothetically speaking. and you confided in them as a friend because they are very close to you, and you are sharing your heart, you are pouring your heart out. And before you know it, you hear somebody who happens to be their friend, or somebody who is a mutual friend to both you and that particular friend. You hear that particular person saying what you told that person. Then you must know that person is not a friend. That person is not a friend. It's time for you to move on, to count your losses, and proceed to the next level of your life. And if that happens, you must know it's time to cut ties. If you allow the above, it will happen again. If you allow the above to happen, I'm telling you, it will happen again. It will happen again. Number two of the signs you should end that relationship. Number two is that they are always critical of you. That friend is always critical of you. If a friend is always critical of you, whether in public or privately, then you must know they do not value you. They do not value you. It's time to cut ties with them and move on. They comment negatively about you to your face and behind your back with other people. They comment negatively about you. You must know that person is no longer a friend. It's time for you to move on. It's time for you to move on. Yes, there's what we call constructive criticism. And, that's something else. But destructive criticism is not good for your self-worth, is not good for your image. It's not. Destructive criticism, it will crush your spirit, it will attack your self-esteem because it's destructive. But constructive criticism, it's something that you need to accommodate in order to work on yourself and to better yourself. Good relationships are meant to challenge us, that we must make peace with. Good relationships are meant to challenge us. And also, they are there to help us expand our capacity. They are there to help us expand our capacity and help us grow into better versions of ourselves. That's what good relationships do. They help us grow into better versions of ourselves. But if they consistently crush our spirits, if the relationship that you have with somebody, you are friends with somebody who always crushes your spirit, it might be time. It might be time to say goodbye. It might be time to say goodbye. You've got no reason to be remaining with somebody that crushes your spirit. There's no reason why you should stick in that kind of a friendship or relationship. Number three, if there's always constant backstabbing, if there is constant backstabbing, then you must know that relationship is not good for you. You must move on and move on to better relationships because that relationship is not good for you. If there is constant backstabbing, then it's not good for you. It's not good for you. Number four, jealousy. Jealousy. They get disappointed when you make progress in life. If that is somebody you call a friend, they get jealous when you make progress in life. That person is not a friend. That person is a competitor, and you must move on, count your losses, let go of that person as a friend. Let them go. They are not good for you. They are not good for you. Jealousy is very dangerous. Jealousy can be very dangerous. Patuchezo says it's a lot to build trust, but it takes few minutes to break that trust. Absolutely. It's a lot to build trust. And he says the unfortunate part most of the people don't have is that most of the people don't have a chest to keep secrets. Absolutely. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that there are people who cannot keep secrets, and they will always, leak information that is not meant to be leaked. And it is very important that you protect yourself, and you guard your heart with all diligence by staying in relationships that are of mutual benefit to you. And if something no longer serves you or the purpose of what is intended for, then it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to move on. Rato Mashazi says, what does one do in the case of knowing that a certain friend is wrong for them, but they can't seem to let go because this is a person they sit with during lunch at school with no other friends? At the end of the day, the decision is yours as a person. Nobody can get you out of the relationship that you formed yourself. You are the one who's got to make the decision, Lerato. You've got to make that decision. Nobody's going to make it for you. Not your mother, not your father, not your brother, not your other friends can help you end a relationship you got yourself into. If it's your own friend and you feel that this relationship is rather negative and not positive for you, then it's the onus is on you. The onus is on you that you must let go of that relationship. If you choose to keep it long or to drag it, you're gonna remain in that relationship, and it is to your own detriment that you remain in that relationship. Can we consider a person that always wants to seem better than you in every way possible a bad friend? Absolutely. I mean, competition is not healthy amongst friends. Competition is not healthy amongst friends. The moment friends start competing, they are what we call secret enemies. They are enemies in disguise. So your friend must encourage you to do well. Your friend must support your success. Your friend must uplift you. Your friend must how do I put this? What's the word I'm looking for? But your friend must give you a pat on the back. Your friend must be your greatest supporter. But if your friend gets angry when you succeed, or your friend wants to always be better than you, they are competing with you. It's a spirit of Lucifer. It is a dangerous spirit. It is a dangerous spirit. That's what Satan did. He thought it could be better than God. And that is why he was chased out of heaven. It is a spirit of rebellion. It is the spirit of witchcraft. It is witchcraft. So a friend that does not wish you good, or a friend that does not encourage you to do well, then I'm telling you, that friend will not be a blessing in your life. There will not be a blessing in your life. Absolutely, absolutely. I fully agree. I mean, Tabo has just said it now. Jealous friends have the capability to kill you. Yeah, they can kill you. They can kill you because they can't take you succeeding. They can't sustain the thought of you doing very well. Then you must know they are not good for you. They are not good for you. Bafana Nkosi says, I hear you, man of God. So how do you deal with a friend who keeps hurting himself by being in a toxic relationship and refuses to take advice? You know what? At times, certain people will never learn until they learn the hard way. Unfortunately, there are friends that will never listen to you no matter what. There are friends that will never listen to you no matter how accurate you may be, no matter how correct you are, no matter what evidence you bring for them to see that they are not in a right relationship, they will never listen. Certain people will never listen until they get their hands bent. Excuse me. They will never listen until they get their hands bent. And sometimes getting their hands bent would be the best thing that could ever happen in their lives, because that's how they would learn. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. Like I said earlier when I was responding to Lerato, that there is no way you can get somebody out of a relationship that they went into themselves. It is their decision for them to come out of that relationship. It's just like what I said with the earlier on with the relationships or abusive relationships. People in abusive relationships, they are the most who don't leave relationships. They never leave those relationships. But you find that in that relationship they get beaten up. The fights are hardcore. These are people who would pour hot water onto you. These are people who always come to work on a Monday with a blue eye, with bruises all over their body. But I'm telling you, it does not matter what advice you give those people. Not even social workers, not even therapy can help. It will take that person getting to a stage of saying enough is enough. That's the only time they would leave. There are certain people who enjoy those kinds of relationships, and they get to a stage where when the partner no longer wants to beat them up, they push the partner. They actually ask the partner, beat me, because they are used to a beating. They are used to a beating. So unfortunately, these kind of relationships, it will never be easy for you to pull somebody out. The best thing you can do for that particular person is to pray for them. That's the best thing. Pray that their eyes will be opened, and pray that the Spirit of God will drive them out of that relationship. That's the best thing you can ever do. But it's never easy to try and pull somebody out of a toxic relationship or a relationship that no longer serves them. It's never easy. It's never easy. Leaving a relationship must be a decision of the person that is in the relationship. Otherwise, it will never happen. Refile Tladi says, a jealous friend is dangerous because you will never know how they truly feel about you. Instead, they disguise as people who want what's best for you, yet they plan or wait for your downfall. Absolutely. That's what they do. They plan or wait for your downfall. Number 5, they are secretly in competition with you. They are secretly in competition with you. They don't make it obvious, but behind the scenes and in private, they tell everybody how you irritate them, how you think you're better, how you think you're the it. Yet when you are together with them, you think you are a great friend to them. So these people are secretly in a relation, they are secretly in competition with you, excuse me. They think that you think you're better. You must move on. You must move on and, try something else. Try something else, because certain relationships are no longer worth you being in them. You just have to count your losses and move on. You just have to count your losses and move on. Number 7, if the relationship is consistently one-sided, then you must know your time is up. It's time to cut ties with that person, with that particular person. If the relationship is consistently one-sided, you are the only one pouring into this relationship, the other person in the relationship does not pour back in, then you must know you are no longer as valued as you used to be. True friendship is defined by reciprocity. True friendship is defined by reciprocity and mutual support. That's a true relationship where you see the element of reciprocity or mutual support. If that is no longer happening, then the relationship is not good for you. If someone is only reaching out to connect when they want or need something, how many of us know of those kinds of relationship, of people or friends that only call you when they need something? They only call you when they want to borrow money. They only call you when they want to borrow something. They only call you when they want you to assist with something. But they never call you when everything is going well. That relationship is one-sided and it's not good for you. I mean, if they do that, then it shows that they don't value you. They only value what you can provide for them. You are worthy of time and investment. That's what you must make sure of. And you need to understand. That's what you need to understand about you, that you are worthy of time and investment. And if somebody does not give you their time and they are no longer investing anything in that relationship, you have to relegate them to the level of acquaintance and shift them from the level of friendship. Relegate them or downgrade them to that level of acquaintance, not friendship. Sometimes you have to let go of all bad people in your life so that good people can come in. Sometimes you have to let go of all the bad people in your life so that good people may come in. We are blocking space for people that are good for us. We are blocking space for people that are great for our destinies because we are holding on to people that are not good for us. And sometimes you have to let go of all the bad people in your life so that good people can come into your life. Lebo says, how do you tell a person why you let go of them? Because surely they will ask why. Certain things, they don't have to be official. Level, they don't have to be official. Sometimes we try to officialize things that don't necessarily need to be officialized. If you no longer want a person in your life and you no longer want to be in their lives, you can simply ignore their calls. You can simply ignore their phone calls. There are certain phone calls that have to remain as missed calls if you want to make it in life. You don't owe anybody an explanation. It's your life. It's your life. If you used to call them every day, you stop. You stop calling them every day. You start by calling them once a month. Before they know it, you stop calling at all. You stop calling. There's no need for you to reason. There's no need for you to explain yourself. Because there is never an explanation that will make them understand. There's never an explanation that will make them understand. Patuchezo says it's painful. It's a painful thing to go through a one-sided relationship or friendship that only calls, or friends that only call when they are in need of something from you. They will even use emotional blackmail to get what they want from you. Yeah. I have made up a sober decision not to force anyone to be close to me. Yeah. Which is good. Which is good. I mean, if you have to force it, it's no longer it. If you have to force it, it's no longer the right one for you. It's not the right thing for you. Things are not meant to be forced. It's either somebody is for you or they are not for you. You must make peace with that. It's either a friend is for you or they are not for you. Same with romantic relationships. It's either somebody is for you or they are not for you. Don't force it. If you have to force it, it's no longer the right one. It's no longer the way it should be. You can't force yourself onto somebody. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Tabang, you must relegate or downgrade them. You must relegate or downgrade them. Yeah. And Spusiso Masemola says, oh, he quotes James 3:14-16. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where there's jealousy and selfish ambitions exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even the word of God has it. Absolutely. God bless you, Lebo. And yeah, reciprocation is very important. Silence might be just a golden way to letting go. Yeah, that's the advice that Lebo must take today. Silence might be the way to go. It might be the way to go. Lastly, we're going to talk about destiny relationships and we close. Destiny relationships and we close. Now, when it comes to these kinds of relationships, These are relationships you must fight to keep no matter what. I'll say that again. When it comes to destiny relationships, these are relationships you must fight to keep no matter what. You must fight to keep these relationships no matter what. Number one, if you're going to make these kinds of relationships work, destiny relationships, you need humility. That's number one. Humility. Only humility can make you stay in these kinds of relationships. We are talking about destiny relationships. That's the last part of relationships. We spoke about romantic relationships last week, and today we discussed relationship with a friend. Now we are closing off with destiny relationships. Destiny relationships. These relationships, these are the relationships you must fight to keep no matter what. You must fight. You must fight. And that is why, if you're going to sustain the glue in between these relationships, you need to be humble. You must humble yourself. You need humility. You need humility. Without humility, you will never be able to sustain the relationships in this bracket. You will never. Number two, you must be prayerful to overcome offense in these kinds of relationships. If you're in a destiny relationship, you must be prayerful to overcome offense, because you will be offended. You will be offended in destiny relationships, because certain things that people that are in these relationships, they might offend you. It might be a person that you are in this relationship with. They might offend you by how they treat you or how they relate with you. But it does not change the fact that they are a destiny relationship. For as long as you are with them, for as long as you are connected to them, you are able to get to where God is taking you. It does not matter what they do. Fight to keep these relationships. Destiny relationships are very important. They are very important. If you get offended in these relationships and you lose your way and you disconnect, I'm telling you, you have disconnected from your destiny. You have disconnected from your destiny. Sister says we need to understand from the start that jealousy can be both good and bad. Jealousy can be driven or motivated both by holy and righteous motives as well as ungodly and unrighteous ones. Yeah. And Tabo says someone died poor because they did not esteem the breach to their wealth. Sure. That's big. That's big stuff. Be very discerning in dealing with a destiny relationship. Yeah, and you know what? The enemy will do everything in his power to tempt you to disconnect in these relationships. These are relationships that the devil fights because he knows that God connected you in this kind of relationship or to this kind of relationship for destiny purposes. For destiny purposes. And if there's anything that Satan wants to do in your life, is to abort destiny, is to abort your purpose, is to abort it. So you must make sure that you are very prayerful. You must become very prayerful in order to fight offense in these kinds of relationships. Now, you need to understand one thing about these relationships, destiny relationships. These are relationships that God has orchestrated to usher you into your destiny. They are orchestrated by God to usher you into your destiny. If you allow yourself to get offended in these relationships, I'm telling you, you will lose what is for what is not. You will lose what is for what is not. So you must be very, very wise when it comes to destiny relationships. You must be very wise. You must be very wise. Some of these relationships are what we call accountability relationships. You need what we call accountability relationships. What are those kinds of relationships? Relationships with spiritual parents, relationships with spiritual parents, relationship with your mentor, relationship with your role model. These are what we call accountability relationships. You need people that you are accountable to. If you disconnect from accountability relationships, I'm telling you, you will regret it very late in your life. You will regret it. You will regret it. These are what we call accountability relationships. You need people you are accountable to. You need people you have to explain to, or people you need to explain to every time you do something that is drastically wrong. You need people that you need to be accountable to. That's besides your biological mother and your biological father. These accountability relationships, these are people you have met along the way. And these people carry the keys for you to go to the next level. Spiritual parents, mentors, and role models. You need to fight for these relationships. If these people did with you, I'm telling you, they've taken a part of your destiny and they are walking away with the keys to your destiny. Never allow that to happen. If you must humble yourself, humble yourself. If you must fight offense, because definitely you will be offended in these relationships. You will be offended. You will be offended with your spiritual parents. You will be offended with your mentor. You will be offended with your role model. More especially when they begin to correct you. You must be accountable to somebody. Anyone that cannot be corrected, it's somebody who is a danger to themselves. I'll repeat that. Anyone who cannot be corrected, they are a danger to themselves. They are a danger to themselves. You must hold on to these relationships with everything that you have. With everything that you have. Tamam Langini says, a person who is not led is dangerous. Yeah, absolutely. 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 In matters like these, you understand why God hates pride. Pride thwarts the plans of God for your life. Absolutely. Absolutely. Number 4, these relationships will bring alignment and correction in your life. These relationships will bring alignment and correction in your life. We all get to a place of power and a place of prominence. And that place is very dangerous if you don't have somebody you are accountable to. Because the moment you get to a place where you become invincible and nobody can tell you anything, then you are in trouble. You are a danger to yourself. These relationships, destiny relationships, will bring alignment and correction in your life. Number 5, last one. They will bruise your ego. They will bruise your ego, but fight with all you have to keep them. Spiritual relationships and destiny relationships, they will bruise your ego. They will bruise your ego. But listen to me. Fight with all you have to keep these relationships. You will thank me later. You will thank me later. Many people have failed dismally in life because they became familiar with these kinds of relationships. They disconnected or they came against the very people that God placed in their lives for their destiny. And what more can God do if you disconnect from that which He instructed you to connect with? So you must be very careful when it comes to that. So yeah, I believe you were blessed by today's episode. Please invest in my book, The Call of God. This book will bless you, and I encourage you to get a copy of this book. It will bless you for a gift of only 200 Rand. You can DM me, or you can also send me an email or a WhatsApp. Just go onto my website, www.blackiconic.co.za, or you can go onto the House of Prayer Ministries.co.za. If you do that, I'm telling you, you will be blessed. This is a copy you need to get, and this book will bless you. So, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I believe you are blessed by tonight, and I believe that you are getting a copy of my book. If you have not yet read this book, please get a copy of this book. You will understand why I do what I do and how I left the world and became a servant of God. You will get to understand when you read this book. I thank you for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Same place, same time. I believe we had a great time. And please, if you have not yet shared the feed, I encourage you now, please share the feed so that your world can also feed from what we have shared today. And I believe that after today, you do know when to let go of an unwanted relationship or toxic and abusive relationship. Now you know. God bless you. I'll see you again next week, same place, same time. We love you.